I remember going on a trip with my dad to Alaska. I was 15. A little store somewhere outside of Anchorage. I mean, I could just sit there for hours and gaze at these custom knives. Knives that were made with natural materials, antler handles, bone. I don't know, it's something about it. My grandfather was a craftsman, and I think there's just a genetic part that just kind of got passed down. Originally, he started just tinkering around with the scientific part of the ballistics in his shop as a hobby. He came up with an idea that basically a smaller bullet traveling faster than a larger bullet traveling slower would have more energy behind it. And so he would take bullets and casings and basically neck those down to take a smaller bullet with a lot of powder behind it. It would send this thing traveling really fast, which was essentially the Magnum. He had to chamber a rifle to fit those. I was always fascinated by that when I was a kid, watching him. And that's the part of my grandfather I feel like I've taken. He was always wanting something that's more on the higher end, even the looks. He never got into the synthetic thing. He always wanted to have the really ornate wood stocks and scroll work on the barrels and stuff. He really enjoyed that part of it, that quality, and that's what I like too. I'll just sit there late at night and think about the next one I want to make and what I want to create, and the handle materials I want to use, and I'm just always excited to get back in the shop and make the next blade. This was an old chicken barn. 2 years ago, I framed the whole thing in, did all the roofing and siding, and ran electrical and made it a shop. I like to tinker, I like to take things apart and put them back together and see how they work. What that allows for me is to also be able to fabricate tools or fix tools and those kinds of things. My main tool is a 2x72 belt grinder. It's pretty much just used for knife making. It was all welded and fabricated from scratch. The only thing I bought were these aluminum wheels. This was my first one I made. I named him Frankenstein, and he is just made from junk parts that I just really threw together. It's hideous. This is an old Craftsman cheapy bandsaw, and I converted it to a variable speed bandsaw with a treadmill motor. Slow it way down for cutting steel, or I can speed it up for cutting wood and that kind of thing. This forging press is my pride and joy. I built this out of an old log splitter. It allows me to do different patterns and stuff that I couldn't really do before with just a hammer and anvil. I've been collecting over time lots of different materials. Most of it are things that I've gotten from my father or my grandfather. My grandfather used to go on safaris to Africa all the time, and he would bring back materials like this. This is African blackwood. Here's some elk antler slabs. Got a whole pallet of these Claro walnut rifle stocks. I'll take the shell casing and silver solder it on the back of the pommel, and it kind of just gives it an extra cool deal. All the handle materials that I collect and utilize are family stuff. Eventually I'm going to run out of African blackwood. I will really soon run out of Cape Buffalo horn from my dad's trip. I think having it be out there where people can pass it down for generations, hopefully, as kind of like an heirloom, it's pretty neat. For a smaller hunting knife, it takes me about 4 full work days. On this blade here, this probably took me a week of full work days to make. Kind of just decide what I like as I go. Or if I get my hands on something new, I'll be like, I want to try that out. Like the caribou antler, I got it, and I'm like, oh, that'll look cool. I'll just start drawing the profile of the blade out, and I'll get size and dimensions and things, and try to get it to a point where I realize okay, this is functional for what I want, you know. So the barrel part's really unique, and I've experimented with so long that I've finally nailed down how to actually make a blade out of a barrel. I've stuck primarily with stainless steel rifle barrels from our Weatherby AccuMark models. I've been experimenting over time with core steels that I put in the barrel, and then it forms what's called the San Mai Damascus, where I have 3 layers. With the gun barrel, it's really cool because it actually wraps around the entire blade and it forms a really durable blade. So you've got the outer layer that forms this softer jacket of steel, and then you've got the core, and then you've got that wavy pattern along the edge. I set my forge welds on the anvil. I do a lot of shaping by hand. I do all the leather work in-house. This is kind of a traditional sheath. A lot of times I do like a form-fitting slip-in sheath, but this one's more of a traditional kind of Western sheath. I thought it went with the style of knife here. So it's a nice tight fit and should last for years. Bladesmithing is just, it's kind of a little of everything for me. Being able to you know, learn a lot about metallurgy and, you know, how the steel transitions through all of its process with the forging and the heat treatment. And it takes a while for me to do that. It's piecing it together, you know. It might not meet up just right as I'm doing the forging process, so I might have to change it. Something that I can just be proud of. It's only one of a kind of that piece right there.